and Fufa in mega multi-billion shilling marriage. Hello once again, Mugalu Mohammed on sign language. I am Rhoda Ngonzi. Let's dig into it. President Yoweri Museveni is challenging Africans and development partners to front the idea of collective development. He was speaking during the closure of the Second Africa High-Level Forum to South-to-South Triangular Cooperation for Sustainable Development at Speak Resort, Munyonyo, Kampala.
So it's now high time to address the issue of global affluence. We don't want partial affluence in only a few countries. That is a system of parasitism, of parasites. We don't want parasitism, we want symbiosis, where people equally gain from working together. The situation, of course, now has changed a bit. China has got out of that circle of poverty. They have built a fairly prosperous society. India, even some sections of the African population have. We don't want partial affluence in only a few countries. That is a system of parasitism, of parasites. We don't want parasitism, we want symbiosis, where people equally gain from working together. The situation, of course, now has changed a bit. China has got out of.
My name is Mildred Tohais, and I'd like to welcome you back.
Thursday was the third day of the conference. President Yoweri Museveni was the chief guest, expected to close. His arrival was just in time for the closing ceremony to kick off. He was welcomed by State Minister for Finance in charge of planning, Amos Lugorobi. The message of addressing financial gaps to counter obstacles to development goals was central.
Identify competences required for us to fully exploit our raw materials and knowledge to inform the education system that we should put in place.
Complementary to this were abridged resolutions adopted by the forum.
Economic resilience and finance for development welcomes with support the multidimensional policies adopted by African countries to curb the consequences of COVID-19 and the need to rebuild economies.
On taking to the podium, President Yoweri Museveni carried a message of collective quest for wealth creation across nations.
So it's now high time to address the issue of global affluence. We don't want partial affluence in only a few countries. That is a system of parasitism, of parasites. We don't want parasitism, we want symbiosis, where people equally gain from working together.
He partly blamed retarded progress of some countries on historical injustices caused by colonialism.
And part of the backwardness of Africa was when we lagged behind in science and technology. We invented fire 1.5 million years ago. We took part in the agricultural revolution. We took part in the domestication of animals, but thereafter we lagged behind. When the Chinese invented gunpowder and the Europeans weaponized it, we took part in the Iron Age, but after that we lagged behind. So this lagging behind in science and technology is very dangerous. It should never happen again.
It is on this basis that he wants South-to-South cooperating countries to trade together at the same pace.
Can you sustainably ensure affluence through donations? No, you can't. Affluence must be through education for all, but also all adults who are not too old engaged in producing a good or a service, either as entrepreneurs or as workers.
Partly, Museveni's concerns had earlier on been alluded to by some development partners.
The need for a strong commitment to South-to-South and triangular cooperation for sustainable development at all levels.
They want us to continue producing raw materials, getting $2 per kilo, while somebody else gets $50 from the same kilo where I have got $2. This is a big shame.
The 3-day engagement was held under the theme Building National Capacities for South-to-South and Triangular Cooperation Ecosystem in Africa and Forging Horizontal Partnerships for Sustainable and Resilient Societies. Henry Okrut, UBC.
Another Speaker of Parliament, Anita Mong, has urged the Office of the Auditor General to be strict while auditing parish development model funds. She was receiving the annual report of the Auditor General for the financial year ended 30th June 2022 in the Speaker's boardroom. Let's take a look.
The Office of the Auditor General has officially handed over the annual report for financial year ended 30th June 2022 as mandated in Article 163 of the Constitution to the Speaker of Parliament.
I wish to inform you that the scope of the audits has reached over 117,000, which is beyond the current capacity. The office can handle.
It indicates that out of the 139 billion shillings disbursed to implement the PDM program, 594 million shillings has not been accounted for.
Disbursement of funds to circles that were not appropriately registered, for failure by circles to utilize funds, And 5, it was also observed that the funds amounting to 594 million in 5 local governments were not adequately accounted for. The office has planned to review the implementation of the program on an annual basis.
The Speaker of Parliament, Anita Among, said in addition to strictly auditing PDM program, the Office of the Auditor General should put emphasis on value for money audits, including Parliament operations.
You've identified on PDM, because a lot of our money is going to PDM, so I think you need to be more strict on issues of PDM. The right people should be able to get the money. The right circles must be able to get the money, not the ghost circles. They must have an operating system that is going to help them track this kind of monies. And of course, we need the database, because at the end of the day, you're going to give somebody who is from across the money and you think that person is yours.
Out of the 1,940 reports handled by the Auditor General's Office in 2021-22 financial year include payroll for teachers' salaries, audited 57 organizations and districts on use of government land, recovery costs in the oil and gas sector, among others.
To ineligible teachers who had accessed the payroll using forged documents, these payments alone amounted to 18 billion. Overpayments of salary, pension and gratuity, and also delays of up to about 12 months to access the payroll.
Speaker is to give the reports to different committees to handle the findings of the Auditor General in a period of 6 months, as mandated by Article 163, Section 5 of the Constitution, to complete the accountability cycle. I'm Nafka Farida and Gloria Gwitabinji at Parliament.
Now, Uganda Human Rights Commission has established the status of National Unity Platform alleged missing persons following a request by the NUP leaders. The chairperson Uganda Human Rights Commission, Miriam Wangadia, says they are contacting the kith and kin of the alleged persons for particulars concerning their arrest.
The Uganda Human Rights Commission recently wrote to National Unity Platform requesting for information of persons alleged to be missing. This followed persistent claims by National Unity Platform that its party supporters had been kidnapped in Communicado. The chairperson, Uganda Human Rights Commission, Mariam Wangadia, says out of the 25 persons presented to be missing by National Unity Platform, 7 were released in December 2022 and have since reunited with their families.
We have established that out of the 25 persons provided, 7 were arrested but released in December last year and have since reunited with their families. The 7 people I'm talking about include Kavuma, Jamshid, Sonko Haruna Badru, Mtale Charles, Abdu Bayani Babu, Godfrey Chirumira Mavin, Ahumuza Patrick, and Moleme Stephen. Out of the 7 people, 3 were charged with murder and are still honoring their police bond requirements by reporting to Special Investigations Division at Chireka.
Of these, 3 were charged with murder and are still honoring the police bond requirement, while 4 others were arraigned in court and charged with malicious damage of property.
They were granted bail and currently live with their families. They were scheduled to report back to court on 17th of January this year. So these 7 people cannot be said to be missing. And we are in touch with them.
The Commission is ready to investigate the whereabouts of alleged missing persons and has asked for cooperation from the public. Sudat Kaye, UBC News.
March India Chief Magistrates Court has set the 16th of February to hear the case against Charles Solimu, also known as Sipapa, who is accused of aggravated robbery against the South Sudanese national Jacob Arokamo. Sipapa and his girlfriend Shamira Nachiyimba appeared for mention of the case against them.
City socialite Charles Solimu, also known as Sipapa, has appeared before Magistrate Esther Dikini of Machini Magistrates Court to proceed with a case against him of robbing a South Sudanese and money laundering. During the proceedings, Papa informed court that he does not approve some of the offences he's charged of, which prompted court to read them to him again. Prosecution led by Harriet Odong told court that there are 3 witnesses in the matter, although they were unable to testify. With this, court adjourned the matter to 16th February this year for hearing.
Kept on amending charge sheet. This is approximately the second time, if not the third time, and they are not all stable. According to the evidence they have in the same charge sheet are the properties which they recovered or which they took from his house.
For offences of aggravated robbery and money laundering against Papa and his girlfriend Shamira Nashimba, prosecution wants court to refer the accused persons to High Court in the next court sitting.
We requested court to compel the state attorney so that they can inform court of how far the investigations have gone.
However, Sipapa, through his lawyer Jeffrey Musima, complained to court that arresting officers seized his belongings, including money, which prosecution says it's under investigation. The accused Sipapa and his girlfriend were remanded, and matter was adjourned to February 27th this year. Rebecca Nantongo, Susan Nabugude, UBC News.
Speaker of Parliament Anita Among is set to name a 5-member committee to investigate controversies surrounding the National Social Security Fund, NSSF. This was after the report on the delayed appointment of NSSF Managing Director Richard Byarahanga by Line Minister Betty Amongi was deemed unsatisfactory by some legislators.
For the last 3 months, National Social Security Fund has not been at peace due to the delayed renewal of the Managing Director's contract. Gender Minister Betty Amongi has briefed the House about the delayed reappointment of Richard Byarugaba, saying it's due to several petitions over alleged mismanagement of funds against him.
Right Honourable Speaker, a number of petitions had been presented to several authorities, including HE the President, Right Honourable Prime Minister, the Coordinator of Operation Wealth Creation, the Inspector General of Government, and myself as Minister of Gender, Labour and Social Development.
The minister says that the delayed reappointment of Richard Byarugaba was done in consultations with her superiors. Members of Parliament questioned the correspondence among the minister, the board members of NSSF, the President and the Prime Minister in what they say seems to be suspicious. It's from here that the members of Parliament urged the Speaker to set a special committee to investigate the controversies surrounding the fund's body.
I would also like to suggest that the committee responsible for the ministry and NSSF could hear from different stakeholders, maybe call Mr. Richard Byarugaba, call the minister and other stakeholders and hear from them. I don't know if we need a select committee, but there's already a committee which handles this docket.
It should be noted that this is not the first time NSSF is getting into a controversy. About 8 years ago, the former managing director of the body, David Jamua, was implicated in financial mismanagement where billions of the NSSF funds were lost. Philip Aguta, UBC News, Parliament.
Members, listen to Phyllis.
And the Ministry of Information, Communications, Technology and National Guidance has embarked on stakeholder engagement in the development of national business process outsourcing policy. The Permanent Secretary, Ministry, ICT and National Guidance, Dr. Amina Zawedde, expressed the immediate need for this policy as it will expand the scope of job opportunities to the increasing number of graduates.
By emphasizing the business process outsourcing services, government target to enhance the contribution of private sector to the national economy.
We are here to hold hands to ensure that we strengthen the ecosystem of the innovators and also the ecosystem of business process outsourcing.
The business process outsourcing ecosystem is expected to widen the scope of employment opportunities. In this, business process outsourcing will create a pool of experts ready for employment.
But we want to make this a bigger space that everyone can benefit from. Different professions. Every year we have over 30,000 students graduating from all universities in this country. But then they are jobless. We say, the challenge we have as Uganda is youth unemployment. So this policy is one of those avenues that is going to help us create an environment where when somebody comes into this country to employ maybe about 30 youths, to do maybe accounting jobs or to do telemedicine or to do whatever profession, because all these professions can be done online. India is doing it, Philippines is doing it.
Despite the operations of business process outsourcing in Uganda, there is no proper regulations to streamline the sector.
So we must identify those areas where there is a need. Those industries, people establishing industries in DRC, who is going to work there? Why should we allow people to come from China to come and work in DRC? We have our oil industry that is coming up. Who is going to work there? We want to create employment for our people, and these people will work from here. We will have them protected, and the employers will also be protected.
The Ministry of ICT and National Guidance is partnering with UNCDF and the private sector to rally the business community towards to come up with the uncontested policy.
Because now we have a policy, then we can put all these stakeholders on one table, and then we can move strategically with everybody playing their different role of what they're supposed to be doing. So without a policy, you do not have a good strategic direction. Now with the policy, we can bring all the stakeholders on the table, and everybody plays their different role to integrate together and move the BPO sector forward.
Business process outsourcing is a business practice where an organization contracts an external service provider perform an essential function. Lydia Chomkama, UBC News.
The renovation of Uganda Matters Anglican Memorial in Namugongo is nearing completion. The monument's amphitheatre is expected to seat close to 20,000 pilgrims.
Church of Uganda embarked on a plan to conserve and renovate the Uganda Matters Anglican site. A few years ago, and it's now nearing completion. This was disclosed during the site visit by the Archbishop of Uganda, Dr. Samuel Stephen Kazimba Mugalo, Minister Ruthi Nankabirwa, and the chairperson Eastern Cluster. That will lead the 2023 Namugongo Anglican Matters Day. Captain Mike Mukula. The Archbishop Church of Uganda, Dr. Samuel Stephen Kazimba Mugalo, commended government's support towards the project.
And we believe the best is yet ahead. We must ensure 3rd June, definitely we invite His Excellency to come himself and have this place together with that dedicated to the Lord.
The amphitheatre is one of the main components of the shrine nearing completion and will have capacity to seat over 20,000 visitors.
That compromises of a podium where the Archbishop and House of Bishops sit as they are leading the service. Then we have walkways, VIP, and also seats permanently fixed so that people can be able to sit and comfortably enjoy the service.
The site engineer Enoka Lukondo confirmed this development during the tour.
At the moment we are 80% of what we are expected as this project. And we are handling the finishes, which comprise of the landscaping, finishing of the spring well. We are fixing most of the walkways are done, the paving is done, and we are doing painting to make sure by the start of April we are done with this project.
Church of Uganda is also aiming at building a museum tower, hotel, and a parish community church, among others. However, the site has been faced with challenges.
The rainy seasons that could not allow us to do the finishes in a proper way or setting. And then a few variations. For example, we had our friends, the SFC, come here and give us a directive of how we adjust so that if the president is to come, we incorporate in and sits comfortably.
The interim chairperson, Eastern Region, Captain Mike Mukula, who also doubles as the organizing chairperson, of 2023 Anglican Matters Day, appeals to the public to join them in the move towards celebrating this year's Uganda Matters Day.
To see that we rebuild, remodel, redirect, because the future of this country is all bequeathed in the reconstruction of the future. The 3rd of June, all roads in Uganda, in the region and in the world lead to this particular occasion.
The renovation of the Namugongo Anglican Matters site into a world-class faith-based and a pilgrimage tourist center started in 2014, a proposal which was initiated by the late Archbishop Livingstone Mpalanyi Nkoyoyo.
It just needs commitment and love. Believing in yourself that you were God's creation. Believing that God knows everything.
Deborah Namamonde, UBC News.
Access to quick justice remains a major challenge in Uganda, with most detainees allegedly spending more time in prison and police cells during the pre-trial period. Advocates for justice are now calling upon government to enact the legal aid bill and cater to legal costs for the vulnerable.
A report by Lawyers Without Borders says access to justice by pre-trial detainees remains a major challenge due to continued infringement of the Constitution. In the report, stakeholders are worried about the period inmates spend in custody during the pre-trial, with some detained beyond the constitutional period.
Then we also discovered that majority of the people in police spend close to 10 days before they are produced in court. And then when it comes to prison, we have people who spend about 2 years before they are being tried in court. And of course now the situation is becoming worse when it comes to the new bail guidelines that were issued recently by the judiciary.
Protecting constitutional and procedural rights of pre-trial detainees report further revealed that detainees do not have access to legal provisions at the time of incarceration.
The bar that is black here shows that the vast majority of inmates actually never, during the time of incarceration, never interact with a knowledgeable person that could advise them on their rights to bail, on their rights to police bond, and on their rights also to ask for a speedy trial.
Delay to access of justice and ignorance about their constitutional rights forces the detainees to enter plea bargains to get quick justice.
Some people who have overstayed on remand are left with the option of entering plea bargains and plead guilty to lower or lesser offenses so that they serve shorter sentences and are free. And to me that's very dangerous, because pleading guilty to an offense someone has not committed is contrary to it runs contrary to the constitutional guarantees on the presumption of innocence.
Advocates for justice have called upon the government to enact the legal aid bill and cater for the vulnerable and implement an alternative to imprisonment for petty offenders.
And this report has made a number of recommendations, including expediting the passing of the legal aid bill. This legal aid bill, if passed into law, will enable even the indigent to access the service of a lawyer without payment.
So it shows you that the people who are most affected in the criminal justice, whose rights, the constitution and procedural rights are affected, are the most poor and vulnerable. And reinforces the fact that there is need to strengthen access to justice for such people.
Sada Mubale, UBC News, Kampala.
Security Minister Major General Jim Muhwezi says the country's security is intact. He explains that security forces work around the clock to ensure peace and safety for all Ugandans from border to border. This was during a briefing to Uganda Broadcasting Corporation news crew.
Uganda is very good.
Security Minister
retired Major General Jim Muhwezi has said Uganda's security is good despite a few hitches that were felt in the country a few weeks back.
We have been able to manage and control the detractors, the terrorists who have been attempting to destabilize our country. The ADF, which was hiding in eastern Congo, has been routed by UPDF and the DRC army.
This was during a briefing to Uganda Broadcasting Corporation news crew at his offices in Kampala.
We have carried out intelligence-led operations within the country and infiltrated all and completely annihilated the units of the terrorists within Uganda, so the country is stable.
The minister says the target on now is how to deal with any sign of crime.
We shall continue to deal with crime, which had gone on the rise since the advent of the corona pandemic. But the crime intelligence and the CID are doing a good job working with other security agencies to make sure that the security of the country is good.
And for the minister, calls for a fair budgetary process to facilitate the continued operations against any crime that might come.
So budget, yes, we did it, especially to buy equipment to use. Medicine, of course, food, and others. Now that there is a budget, we did it. But it's not that security will be compromised because the budget has been reduced. No.
Wes, however, says security forces will continue ensuring that there is sustainable peace and stability in the country at all time and at all costs.
So there is no need to worry. We discuss with the government in the budget framework. We show the government what we need to do our work. And in most cases, government gives us support. We cannot say that they have not given us budget. No, we have budget to do our work. So the population should not fear that there was no budget and therefore security is going to be compromised. No.
It's super fast internet. Oh, it's a super camera. It's a super battery.
Phone battery full.
Yeah, it's a super deal. Get the Kabode Super from MTN now at a reduced initial deposit of only 49,000 shillings and pay the balance in Pola for as low as 833 shillings per day. Grab this Super Kabode deal this Christmas and get 2 GB of free MTN data every month for 8 months. Get the Kabode Super now from any MTN shop countrywide. Everywhere you go, MTN. Regulated by UCC.
Oh, Susan, I want to propose to Rose. Yes, and this time I am serious.
Have you guys had sex?
Duh, of course.
And have you had sex without using condoms?
Hey, Nga, you're curious.
I'm more concerned. Are you having sex with other people?
Hey, hello, is this an interview or what?
No, just things you should think about. Do you know Rose's HIV status?
Okay, this is serious. Should I be worried?
It is actually serious. Do you know your HIV status?
I think I am safe. Many times we get into situations that put us at risk of HIV. However, the first step to ending HIV is getting tested and knowing your results.
It's Time Up HIV. Call 0800-211-046 or text 8080 toll-free for more information about how to prevent HIV.
This message is brought to you by Ministry of Health with support from USAID.
*11. Keeping an eye on all your balance the old way. I got this. Yeah. Balance is... yeah.
is he up to now?
*11. Keeping an eye on all your balance with the My Airtel app. You have the power in your pocket. The power to see all your balance in one place and in real time. Unlock that power with the My Airtel app. Visit the App Store or Google Play now.
Miss him.
Do you need data collection services, data analysis and reporting, monitoring and evaluation systems? Then contact Mold Technologies, a professional research firm that has provided many organizations with timely research solutions for over 15 years. For more information, visit www.mt.co.ug or call us on 0704 913 399 or 0782 602 963. Visit our office in Kampala at Sayuni Complex in Tinda. Mood Technologies, your professional research firm.
At Timex Nutrition Center, we advise you on the right foods to eat, exercise profile to adopt, and lifestyle strategies which are compatible to your blood group and genotype. This empowers your body to prevent and treat many diseases like diabetes, blood pressure, arthritis, ulcers, obesity, and many others. For more information, find us at our head office in Kampala on Nassa Road, Conrad Plaza, 2nd floor, or call 0758 819 952 or 0778 288 361. We also have other branches in Bara and Jinja.
It's super fast internet. Oh, it's a super camera. It's a super battery.
One battery phone.
Yeah, it's a super deal. Get the Kapote Super from MTN now at a reduced initial deposit of only 49,000 shillings and pay the balance in Pola for as low as 833 shillings per day. Grab this Super Kapote deal this Christmas and get 2 GB of free MTN data every month for 8 months. Get the Kapote Super now from any MTN shop countrywide. Everywhere you go, MTN. Regulated by UCC.
Welcome back. You're still watching Eastern Night. The Ministry of Health, together with Kampala Capital City Authority, KCCA, has embarked on sensitizing communities on communicable diseases. This comes at a time when Uganda has just been declared Ebola-free.
It's not all about that we are done with Ebola, but what next? We must keep in touch in as far as looking after our communities is concerned. Cleanliness is very, very important, and many of these diseases come as a result of maybe unhygienic areas where we live.
There are many other hemorrhagic diseases that keep coming up that can wipe out our populations rapidly. So we need to be best prepared. We are basically preparing for disaster. We are disaster preparing in the event of any reoccurrence or occurrence of a new disease.
Religious leaders are able to reach out, scale the messages to their congregations in their different churches, in their different mosques, in their different places of worship. Because they are key influencers, it is very vital that we empower them and bring them on board so that they're able to reach people in their different places of worship.
To avoid handshaking, avoid congestion, and Muslims, we are trying to tell them that instead of coming to mosques minus their mats, they should get these small mats where they can conduct their prayers from. They should make sure that they put hand washing facilities across religious institutions. Let it be mosques, churches, and name it.
Kampala resident City Commissioner Amina Lukanga has ordered the arrest of 9 Emyoga Sacco leaders from St. Balikudembe Market, also known as Owino, over alleged mishandling of Emyoga funds. This was during the RCC's evaluation tour of the Emyoga program in the capital.
capital in Kampala city has continued to raise dust. The Myoga evaluation and assessment is being conducted by the city RCC, Amina Nanzire Rukanga.
Kuruno business RCC zafa singa mutamani mtwasetenda ntuyimuka sasa no balance of gas garayo.
And what I've found now in a window market is also alarming. Just like we found in Nakasero market, money was eaten by their leaders. Others took the money, the beneficiaries, but did not want to bring back the money.
The process has left the RCC rubbing shoulders with many SACC administrators as cases of city capital misuse are becoming the order of the day in almost all city Myoga circles.
Something new I've discovered today in a window market, these people put a higher interest on from what we agreed. We all know Myoga interest is 8%, but we have come to discover some have 8, some have 12, some have 24.
While inspecting St. Balukudembe market this Thursday afternoon, the unconvinced Amina Rukanga ordered for the arrest of 9 Myoga circle leaders.
People on ground, the beneficiaries are there, people are yearning to have money. They complain the money was given to them, but they're not seeing the money. And finding out the money is with their leaders. So we are committing them to pay the money. If they don't, the law will take its course.
By close of Thursday business in just 3 days, the RCC has so far arrested 17 circle leaders and members in the city on grounds of mismanagement of the public government resources.
Some people didn't actually want to pay back this money, implying that it was given to them by the government, it's something for them to eat. But with the extra force from the RCC and her team, these people have been taken to police. The law has started to work. And we pray that if this continues, we are going to see.
Robert Onyango, UBC News.
Now, the State Minister for Karamoja Affairs, Agnes Nandutu, has begun a campaign dubbed Drop a Gun and Pick the Hole, which is aimed at sensitizing communities to embrace agriculture. Nandutu launched the campaign in Loro Sub-County, Amadat District, during an event attended by RDC, Major Betty Akelo, LC5, Joseph Nubot, local leaders and the locals.
Karamoja sub-region is a semi-arid agro-pastoralist community with one planting season between March and June, but due to climate change and insecurity, the region is affected by hunger. It's from this backdrop that the State Minister for Karamoja Affairs, Agnes Nandutu, has launched Drop a Gun and Pick a Hole campaign, which is aimed at sensitizing locals to adopt agriculture.
A gun and pick a hole! I'm employing the youth to pick holes and will enter the garden and engage into commercial agriculture.
However, Amadat District LC5 Chairperson Joseph Nangolelobot says he's worried about the delay by government to provide them tractors.
I've known the value of opening up gardens. And today that you have come here, my expectation is to hear from you how far the issue of procurement of tractors has reached. When I was presenting in Moruling on behalf of the leadership of Karamoja, when we met with the president, we talked about the tractors, and the president said already a supplementary budget has been passed by Parliament to procure tractors.
Be delivered for us to open more land. We directed the Ministry of Agriculture to ensure that tractors are brought here in Karamoja in every district. Every district should have tractors.
Nandutu urged the Pokot to desist from cattle rustling and embrace agriculture.
A gun and who have embraced a hope for food production. The only way we can create wealth, commercial agriculture, we are going to create wealth for the country and for our home states.
Nangole Lobot one timely delivery seed.
When seeds meant to be for a season is delivered in December. Last year we received food in December. We had to tell the Operation Wealth Creation team, return the seeds keep the seeds until the time when people have opened up gardens. Because with anger, people end up washing and eating the seeds.
While the Nabot want government to adopt cereal banking to avoid hunger crisis.
Sometimes these people produce on a very good season, but as soon as they harvest, you get trucks from Sirongo, trucks from Kenya, they are coming here. They buy these grains at a very cheap price, so that we have that pool. People can contribute some food, kept for some time. When the prices go high, that is the time now they can access. Or when households are faced with the hunger, they can easily access from there. So if we construct this per sub-county, and then we task farmer groups to be banking some food for a while, I know nobody will come to you asking for it.
Leaders pledge to support the Drop a Gun and Pick Hoe campaign.
Embrace this hoe, we continue digging, embrace apiary, and we keep the bees, and we produce honey and sell. The market is ready, and be able to take our children to school.
Ministry of Karamoja Affairs through NAD supplied seeds to all the 9 districts in Karamoja for the coming season.
The Natural Chemotherapeutic Research Institute is set to start training herbalists at level 4 who will fast-track the production of internationally recognized herbal medicines come July this year. The director of the institute, Dr. Grace Nambatia, says that of the 250 certified herbal products on the Ugandan market, NDA already started following up with users to establish their efficacy.
Research Institute, Dr. Grace Nambatia has disclosed plans aimed at training herbalists to propel production of herbal medicines and enhance the standardization of such products for global market. Since introduction of training services at the institution in 2018, National Chemotherapeutic Research Institute has been producing herbalists with skills in acceptable methods in gardening, harvesting, and value addition standards from level 1 to level 3.
Level 1 mainly focuses on learning how to prepare a garden, create nurseries, and propagate medicinal plants. Level 2 gets them into harvesting and adding value to those medicinal plants. And level 3, making products.
According to available statistics, this has fetched good returns, with evidence in the increased number of certified herbal medicine products on the market.
From early 2000, from about 6 products, now we have over 250. With improved labeling, improved packaging.
Despite this development, Uganda's herbal products are yet to penetrate the global market. It is against this background that the National Chemotherapeutic Research Institute is thinking of equipping herbalists with requisite expertise.
Level 4 would look at picking those products and taking them deeper to that level of picking out what is best for clinical trials.
All this came out as the institution passed out over 60 graduates with skills in gardening, harvesting, and value addition methods in herbal medicine. The Minister for Science, Technology and Innovation, Dr. Musenero, was represented by one Brenda Nakaziwe, who employed graduates to form allies with key health sector players if they are to progress.
When they work together in consortia, they are able to achieve a lot more. Their bargaining power becomes stronger, and what they would have done on their own struggling, they now work together.
Graduates were also cautioned against exploitation of unsuspecting members of the public.
Those soft skills like integrity, communication, human relations, teamwork, the business skills, they are very core.
The Occupational Herbalist Training that aims at modernization of traditional medicine in the country follows the curriculum developed by the Directorate of Industrial Training. Dorcas Kimono, UBC TV News.
And Health Mental Coalition of Uganda has recommended for a monitoring body to hold psychiatric sector accountable for human rights abuses. This follows a media story alleging forceful treatment, hospitalization and sexual exploitation at Butabika Hospital.
Uganda has called for a thorough investigation and inspection of Butabika Hospital following alleged human rights abuses within the psychiatric facilities. This follows a letter published revealing lies beyond the eye at Butabika Hospital.
It should be noted that issues of human rights abuses within the psychiatric facility is not new in Uganda. Acts of seclusion and restraint, physical or chemical, forced medication, denial of consent and participation in their own treatment, forced institutionalization by the healthcare system, families of persons with mental health disabilities, police and the community have always existed in Uganda.
The Ministry of Health has been tasked to fast-track the implementation of the Mental Health Act to ensure community mental health services are integrated in the treatment and care persons.
And that is peer-to-peer support groups within the communities, because that is an option when it is harnessed, supported, and the capacity is built of people with lived experience, because I also have a lived experience, somebody who has recovered from bipolar affective disorder. It works.
The coalition is now advocating for use of alternative care in the community that include use of de-escalation techniques, voluntary admissions, among others.
That persons living with disabilities face a lot of stigma as well, and as we don't have to just advocate towards people within the rural areas, but we need to take this advocacy and sensitization even in the rural areas. They don't have as much information that we have here.
Parents have been also asked to follow up on their patients for quick recovery. Police has been asked to investigate matters of corruption and sexual exploitation of persons with mental disabilities. Sudat Kaye, UBC News.
A non-business cabinet has approved the construction of a 296-kilometer crude oil pipeline from Hoima to Mutukula, Uganda-Tanzania border. The East African Crude Oil Company has been licensed to undertake the construction works. The pipeline project from Hoima to Port of Tanga in Tanzania is costed at $5 billion with the commencement of works expected in November 2023 and completion target in the first quarter of 2025.
Since the discovery of oil in 2006, there has been a number of projects undertaken in preparation for the commercialization of Uganda's petroleum resources. One of the current projects is the construction of the crude oil pipeline from the Albertine region to Tanga in Tanzania. The East African Crude Oil Pipeline is 1,443 kilometers long, and out of these, 296 kilometers are in Uganda. Cabinet has now approved the application by the East African Crude Oil Pipeline Company Limited to undertake the construction works.
For a license to construct the East African Crude Oil Pipeline, or which is popularly known as ECOP, with the following benefits. One, commitment of both the governments of the Republic of Tanzania and Uganda to develop the ECOP project. And two, promoting transparency and sustainability between the countries. And third, demonstrating joint commitment to develop the project in a harmonized manner.
The construction of the crude oil pipeline is costed at $5 billion.
So if you calculate 40% of that being equity, then of the 15% is what government of Uganda is contributing. I think offhead it's in the region of $300 million. And Ministry of Finance, I think, has already availed about $200 million for the equity contribution of government. The rest of the 60%, which is the bigger part of the budget, is supposed to come from financials, and the discussions are ongoing. I think we are making good progress.
The project, whose construction is expected to commence in November this year and end in the first quarter of 2025, will affect 171 villages in 10 districts in the country. Mutonyi Hilda and Diana Kuti, UBC.
And now in sports, Federation of Uganda Football Association has entered a 19 billion five-year sponsorship deal with telecommunications giant MTN. The announcement was made last night at the Uganda Cranes versus Senegal African Nations Championship game watch party hosted at Serena Hotel, Kampala.
And it is my singular honor and privilege on behalf of MTN Uganda to announce this day that MTN Uganda is back with the Uganda Cranes. And MTN Uganda is bringing the game back to the fans.
On a day of double joy for Uganda, Federation of Uganda Football Associations has unveiled the telecommunication giants MTN as their sponsors.
The value of the sponsorship is 19 billion shillings, and it's going to be spread over 5 years. But obviously, even the investment that we'll put in will be a lot more because we seek to go across the whole of Uganda, just re-energizing the game, getting people to fill the stadiums again as we support Uganda football. I think the other thing that is also important to announce is that we are not just doing the Uganda Cranes, the national men's team, but also this time we're also bringing in the Crested Cranes, which is the national women's team. And we'll also be supporting all the additional programs under FUFA, which include the FUFA Drum Tournament, the FUFA Juniors League, the FUFA Super 8, the FUFA Super Cup, and the annual FUFA Awards.
FUFA President Moses Magogo is optimistic this deal will propel Uganda to greater tidings, especially the 2026 Football World Cup.
And of course, there have been challenges along the way. We have a challenge of the infrastructure, and we are working with government and all other private stakeholders to ensure that we solve. And we shall solve this one. We have very good account on the side of government that there's a big effort to ensure that we solve the challenge of infrastructure. There's also been a challenge of the law, but we're all aware that within the next few weeks, the Ugandan Sports Act that I presented to Parliament myself as a private member will be able to become law if assented to by the President. We believe that the remaining bit will be now the funds.
This partnership has excited key stakeholders like National Council of Sports, whose General Secretary Dr. Bernard Patrick Ogwell advises other federations to borrow a leaf.
I don't think it just came from nowhere. The marketing department, which is a directorate, has been fully behind negotiation, behind selling their brand to the level I saw yesterday. What else can I tell other federations? They are wasting time to talk negative, talk and fight in the media on issues of funding. FUFA needed to put the right human resources in place for them to attain. It did not need money first. You need to think about it. Football can employ its own people. I now see this coming to reality. So if we're talking about growth and development, we need to look at organizing our houses. Good governance is a practice and a profession for us to adopt.
The announcement for the new sponsor was made at the watch party for the Senegal versus Uganda game in the African Nations Championship in Algeria. In a game Uganda needed to win, goalkeeper Nafian Alionzi saved the penalty, while captain Milton Kalisa secured the result with a well-taken 33rd minute strike that puts Uganda atop of Group B.
Young man. Sebakula drops. Kalisa! 1-0! Milton Kalisa! The captain of Vipers plays and scores!
The Cranes that have garnered 4 points will return to action on Sunday against Ivory Coast with knowledge that any result secures a historic passage to the quarterfinals. John Barnes, Centum, UBC News.
Well, that does it for News Tonight. Thank you for sticking with us. Mohammed Mugalun Sign Language. I am Rhoda Ngozi. Do stick around.